This is a good serious one, probably the most interesting topic from the last week, and that is Apple, TSMC, and other chip designers banding together in Arizona. TSMC, which is Taiwan Semiconductor, the largest semiconductor manufacturer in the world, along with the president of the United States, announced an expansion to $40 billion of investment into the state of Arizona for factories, while the previous number was just $12 billion. The first plant is set to begin production in 2024. The new plants will actually have more advanced nodes than previously thought. They will have a 3 nanometer one by 2026. And right now, the leading edge is 5 nanometers. So these will be pretty close to the leading edge. And if we look at their customers, Apple, AMD, and NVIDIA are going to be committing to purchasing from these factories. And for reference for kind of the global supply, this will be enough supply for current US demand for computer chips. Now in 2026, 2028, US demand for computer chips is probably going to be higher. We'll see, I guess. But it's a sizable amount. And this doesn't take into, in fact, Intel, other companies that are manufacturing in the US. Intel is committing, I think, $40 billion as well to Ohio to build out factories there, as well as Arizona. Can't remember the exact numbers, but they're in Ohio and Arizona. TSMC is just in Arizona. I think the big thing here is there are $52.7 billion worth of potential subsidies because of the CHIPS Act passed by the US government. And I think that is just why TSMC is going aggressively here, because they're hopefully going to get, some free, whatever it is, tax stuff, however they're going to get this money, some of this $50 billion, and it'll help them build out these factories at even better returns on invested capital. I also saw that TSMC founder Morris Chang, he did a speech there. Seemed to be a who's who. You had Chang, President Biden, Tim Cook. What's the AMD? What's her? Lisa Su, I think she was there. I'm sure the NVIDIA guy, who is a very loud man, he was probably there doing a nice speech. But the TSMC founder, Morris Chang, at his speech said that globalization is, quote, almost dead. Get a comment here from Matt H, who again is leading the chat. Thank you for being the one person that watches on YouTube. He says, how pissed is Xi about this, referencing Xi Jinping? I think he's probably quite pissed. And this seems like an interesting counter move for Apple, TSMC, from all these China worries that have been popping up. So any thoughts on there before we go into, I have a couple questions about these companies from an investment perspective.
No, I just simply don't have any takes on the semi-manufacturing space, just because I feel like it's always that area where I'm disadvantaged in terms of what I know. But I have to imagine that President Xi doesn't feel very good about this. And do you think this would have happened had it not been for him?
For being aggressively saying that they're going to, or leaking, or reports out there that they want to reunify, quote unquote, Taiwan this decade. I think
I keep thinking like,
TSMC and Apple are probably talking like, all right, you guys seeing this? Like, we need to get, these factories take multiple years to get ready. We need to do this now. Commit the dollars. The US government is going to give us a boatload of money. Let's go.
Yeah, to me, I think Xi is pissed about this, probably, but
it's his own fault.
Time,
yeah,
like he probably forced this,
yeah,
or at least forced it many years in advance. But don't you think it's more costly in the US, or are the subsidies going to get rid of that?
We'll see. I mean, it's not, semiconductor factories are not based off of low cost labor. It's all about technological science. The reason that TSMC's core factories in Taiwan are so good is because they have the smartest engineers within that space there. They have the smartest scientists and all that stuff, and they have the contracts with ASML, who do a lot of the R&D, I guess, for them, essentially. So I don't think low cost labor isn't a thing. Low cost energy is probably important, right? Which the US has some of the lowest cost energy in the world.
Yeah, didn't you say Arizona has a water problem and
I did tweet that, but I tweeted that out so people would maybe respond and show that it wasn't a big deal. I think there's a lot of numbers that get thrown around about these plants using a ton of water, but since they're a lot of it just gets recycled. So some of those numbers are inflated, but they do use water. But again, Arizona, I would think that Apple, TSMC would have that sorted out. So I think they have these water treatment plants and these recycling facilities for them. But they're super energy intensive. So you want low cost energy. US has that. And especially in the Southwest, there's tons of renewable potential. And then you just got to get the scientists and engineers over here. I would think TSMC would be able to bring those over to the United States, and there would be enough from American colleges to fulfill that, although we'll see.
so what are the investing implications?
Yeah, so these are the questions I wanted to ask. Does this make you more bullish or bearish on first one, Apple?
Bullish.
I agree. I think it's pretty obvious, but what are any? Yeah, I want to see if you have the same thoughts as me.
I mean, it takes a huge, the component in their supply chain is the risk is assuming that this it gets up to any sort of level to what they have in Taiwan, it completely diversifies away the risk geographically from being in Taiwan.
Yeah. Now, I think 90% of their manufacturing or assembly is in China still. So it's going to take a lot of work to get them out of the country if they really want to. It'll probably take multiple years. But yeah, I'm in the same camp. It would make me more bullish. However, though, you can maybe flip that and say, in the short run, they are exposed. So like they're making the right steps, but it's because they made mistakes 7 years ago.
Yeah, I also wonder how this now puts them at potentially a not so beneficial relationship with President Xi, or maybe not as amicable, I should say.
Yeah, in conflict, yeah. Yeah.
Which if that's where I think this would really hurt them in terms of gross margins would be if their actual like labor side had to be repositioned somewhere else.
Yeah, we saw that Foxconn stuff. Yeah, that's
A lot of people
interesting.
would be getting Google Pixels,
Potentially.
except they're
Or
probably manufacturing over there too.
yeah, I think a lot of people wouldn't be upgrading. That's the thing. A
Because
lot
they
of
kind
people,
of
yeah, a lot of people won't be upgrading. It's just a huge risk, and I just don't. Again, everyone loves Apple. Said this many times, but I don't understand the multiple it gets because of these risks. I really think it deserves like 10 times earnings. But
I'd take it at 10 times, but yeah, there is some risk.
yeah,
It is like if anything in their operation ceases them from cutting out upgrades at the same pace, you're going to see a huge crunch in the multiple.